Well, good morning. So I have me a cup of coffee. Well, good morning. It's Monday, as you can see out the window. The snow has fallen. My hair is doing all right. That's good. So this is my first drive in just about 9 months in the snow. We have on the roads, I think it's pretty much just ice. But I think we've had a total of about 5 inches of snow over the weekend. I just spent the last, I would say probably 25 minutes de-icing and blowing off my car. It's nice and warm in here this morning because my car has been sitting here burning fuel for the last half hour or more. So we are going to go to work. So driving in the snow, well, driving in the snow can be dangerous. It also can be a lot of fun, and it can be a challenge. If you are new to driving in the snow and you've never done it before, well, anybody for that matter, I highly recommend slowing down, doing at least 5 under the speed limit, especially if it's icy, and if you push on your brakes and you slide a little bit. Give yourself a space cushion. I highly recommend that. Expect at least a 10 to 15 minute delay depending where you're going, and plan on being wherever you're going early, and believe it or not, you'll actually show up on time. But the space cushion is very important. You want to make sure that you do that. You also want to brake earlier than you normally would brake, so that way you're slowing down your momentum before you get to your stop. If you take off, let the vehicle do it for you. Make sure you have, when the cars are coming both ways and all this kind of stuff, make sure you have enough room and enough time that you can let the car get its own momentum. By pushing on the accelerator to try to get the car to go, all you're doing is losing control and losing traction, burning out your tires, and you're going to make the road condition underneath where you're at that moment more difficult later down the road. So just take your time, be slow, think about everything you're doing, be very aware of your surroundings. Winter is, normally you want to do all these things anyways, but winter is one of those times where you really want to be vigilant of what's going on around you and your conditions of the road and that kind of thing. As you know, I drive for a living. I spend so much of my time behind the wheel. I would say probably about 14 hours a day on average, just behind the wheel. And so I get the joke all the time from my family members, you think you're a professional, huh? And honestly, yeah, I do. And I don't think, I know, I am a professional driver. I've been driving since I was 14 years old. I've driven everything from semi-trucks to school buses to taxi cabs. My own personal rig, of course, doing like pizza delivery, and now I drive big trucks. Not semis, but big trucks. So, just aware of everything around you. That is the key. And snow chains. If, for God forbid, whoops, you have to throw snow chains. Well, let's just say that if you have to put snow chains on, let's hope that you practice doing it before you actually have to do it. Because if you've never put a snow chain on a vehicle before and you have to put snow chains on, you're going to have a lot of fun. Sliding around, getting angry and frustrated in the snow, getting soaking wet and freezing cold. want to learn how to put snow chains on before you have to put them on. And like many things, it's all about doing it. You can read as many books about putting on snow chains as you want to, but honestly, you have to actually do it in order to learn. You can learn the techniques and the ideas and the concept through books or YouTube or whatever, but until you are literally putting on snow chains, then you're really not, you're not grasping the whole picture. Also, every set of snow chains and every set of tires are different. Even though they're all the same, they're different, and they have different things about them, and every time you put them on, they'll be different. A brand new set of snow chains and a set of snow chains that are 3 years old are going to go on differently. The older snow chains are usually a little looser. I know, it's metal. Why would chain and metal be loose? Well, it does. It loosens up. Also, it gets more rusty, and so it makes it more difficult for the chain to move when you first put it on. They get wear in them and wear patterns. Sometimes they break. So you always want to practice those chains and get those chains out and pull them apart and look at them before you actually put them on your vehicle. Stretch them out. Even if they're brand new chains, pull them out of the bag or the box or container. Stretch them out. Make sure they're not twisted, turned, funky. Make sure they're the right size for your tire. Make sure they're going to fit. Make sure you have your locking key. You've got to have the locking key. If you don't have that, you can't tighten them. And you have to have them tight. So make sure you got all those things. Also, make sure that you know where they're at and how to access them. That way, when you do need to use them, it's not a pulling the whole car apart to get to them. They're somewhere right where you can get them. For me, I like them right behind the passenger seat. That way, when I need to put them on, I know I need to pull them on. I know right where they're at. I don't have to pull anything out or dig anything or whatever in order to get to them. So just don't bury them. Don't hide them underneath your wheel well. That's something a lot of people do. In the trunk of their car, underneath the floor, they'll have their spare tire. And they put the chains in with it. Well, okay, it's great during the summer months. Sure, they're out of the way, they're in the back, no big deal. Don't need them. But when you get snow, let's say you go grocery shopping and you load your car with groceries. And then afterwards you realize you have to put chains on. Now you're unloading your entire trunk of your car onto the ground so you can lift this board to get to your freaking groceries. Or to get to your snow chains. So, not fun. When you throw chains too, want to make sure that you have something to sit on or kneel on. Either a big chunk of cardboard or a little mat, like a carpet, or which will get wet, so be prepared for that too. Or a tarp, just a little teeny blue tarp, folded up a couple of times. Something to kneel on, because you don't want to kneel into the mud and the slush and the grossness and get cold. So something to sit on, kneel on, whatever you got to do while you're putting those on. Always put them on tighter than you think that they'll need. So when you put them on for the very first time, hopefully in the spring, fall, or summer, when you first put them on, you will do the back first. Put them an extra chain tighter than you'd think you would need them. You say, okay, well, I need 3, but let's do 4 chains in. And then bring them around and tie up the front and try to lock them. If they are tight, perfect. If they're still loose, okay. If they're too tight and they won't go together, then just pull it back one. But always go chain tighter, because you never know. You might be able to save yourself a little extra slack in the front. And it just might work a little bit better. Also, make sure they don't come in the bag. It's something extra you really should think about buying. I know. Sounds something actually you should really think about buying is bungee cords. And don't go buy the cheap clothy ones wrapped in a bunch of fibrous crap. The little one with the black plastic handle or loops with the thing. Don't buy that shit. If they got a spiral that goes around them to hold on to the fabric bungee, don't buy it. No. Go somewhere good. Go to a tire store, or better yet, go check out the truck stops. The Loves, Flying J, TA, any of those big name truck stops. Go there, check those out, because what they have are these black bungee cords that have metal S hooks on the ends. You have to put the S hooks in. Those are what you want. Those are the strongest. They're being sold where? At a truck shop, a truck store. They're heavy duty. They're going to last you a long time. Well, what you're going to do with those loose chain, if you have loose chain on the inside and the outside, it's hanging on your snow chains. Around the very last one, take a real small bungee, or very last one, hook that chain, and then hook it straight across onto the outside. That way, that little thing isn't flapping around and hitting stuff, and the one on the inside of the tire isn't swinging around hitting your brake lines. So it kind of keeps everything together and tight. The other thing that's very, very, very important, when you put your snow chains on, make sure you don't put them on upside down. So when you lay your snow chains out, you want the loops on the end. So it's like a ladder. So you got two rails. One side's going to have these locking things on it, and the other side's just going to be one long chain. Okay? And then you're going to have little pieces of chain running across them. Little pieces, about yay big. On the ends of those, where the cross chain meets the rail chain, there'll be this S kind of curve, circly kind of curve thing. The opening of that little piece of metal that connects them, you want the opening to be facing away from the tire. Do not let the open part of that face your tire. You will be buying brand new tires. That will punch holes and shred your tires. So make sure that it's coming up and out away from your tire. Big deal. That's a very big deal. That's probably the most important thing when it comes to snow chains. And of course, don't take my word for everything. Take a look at the manual, ask questions. There's a lot of resources out there. And I'm sure that there's someone you know who knows how to put on chains properly. So maybe they can show you as well. So a lot of things to look out for this time of year. Like I've said, take your time, go slow, be extra patient. There are going to be snow plows on the road. There's going to be sanders on the road. There's going to be de-icers on the road. So just be very mindful of what's going on around you. And don't always assume that there's no ice. It's just wet. Don't always assume. Even though a de-icer will come in and will spray the intersection of a busy intersection, they'll spray the intersection usually. Don't assume that that's water. It could be ice. It could be black ice. And black ice looks like wet road. It literally looks like it's wet, but it's ice. So just be very mindful of where you're at. Just don't assume that you can get traction, and just take your time. Watch out for other people. They are very dumb, to say the least, especially young drivers. They've not been on the road driving before, and it's their first couple of weeks of having snow on the ground, and they want to go do Brodies, and they want to just be impatient and not take their time and be in a hurry and slip and slide. And so just take your time. You will notice also a lot of people will run red lights this time of year because they're afraid that they're not going to be able to stop. So Just be mindful when the light changes green, wait a couple of seconds and then go. Don't just stomp on it as soon as the light changes. And the other thing that is very scary that you got to make sure you do is the top of your vehicle. Make sure that when you sweep the snow and brush the snow off of your car, that you get the roof. Because what's going to happen, you're going to be driving your vehicle and your vehicle is going to get warm. And the underside of that snow on your roof is going to melt. And it's going to be like an ice rink up there. So it's going to slide, it's going to move. Well, if you leave it, don't do anything with it, you're going to have a buildup, and then all of a sudden you're going to avoid an accident and slam on the brakes, or you're going to try to shift or veer, or something's going to happen, and that whole sheet of snow is going to slide right over your windshield and block your vision, and now you can't see nothing. You got this thick thing of snow right in your way, and if you pull over or stop, you're blocking traffic to try to get it clean. So just avoid the situation altogether. Clean off the roof of the car. It just makes so much more sense. Also, you want to be visible in the snow. I have white cars. The thing with white cars is white hides against snow. Snow is white normally. When you brush off your car, if you have bits of plastic or something on your car that is not white, so for me, I have plastic molding around the base of my car that is gray. I always make sure that I sweep that off too. Because all of my windows, I will never leave a window like the back window or side covered in snow, because someone may not see you. They may not see the dark tinted windows or whatever, see you, and then plow right through you, and you're like, oh, I didn't see you. Where'd you come from? You came out of nowhere. So sweep off your car, get as much snow off of your car as you possibly can, so then that way you're more visible. Also, when it comes to being visible, make sure your tail lights, your brake lights, and your headlights are all working. Make sure all your indicator lights are working, especially with the fact that it gets dark at night. Just because there's snow doesn't mean that it's lighter at night. Actually, on the contrary, sometimes it's even darker at night, especially if there's a cloud cover. So make sure that you're very visible. You're lit and you're very visible. Be predictable. Okay? Predictability is also a big factor in the winter time. Don't make a lane change without notifying people around you that you're going to make a lane change, and turn on your turn signal and let it blink at least 3, sometimes 4 times before you move over. And then make sure before you turn it off, you are actually in the lane you're going to. I can't tell you how many times I've seen where people will let their turn signal blink once, turn it off, and move over. Or it's blinking the once as they're moving over. So be very mindful of, let the thing blink, 2, 3 times, 4 times, move over, especially on the freeway. Take your time, make sure that you're predictable. Make sure people can see you. The last thing you want is, to be sitting on the side of the road in the freezing cold, filling out paperwork. Oh, what a beautiful day. So, it is cold. It is 27 degrees outside right now. And for today, I just don't see the temperature going up very much. It will probably stay just around 30 degrees to 32 degrees Fahrenheit for the day. It will stay cold and freezing. So for today, I know that it's got cloud cover, and I know that the weather is going to be crazy and icy as heck. So just be mindful. I'm going to be very mindful all day, because there's ice everywhere and it's not going to go away today. When ice and snow melts throughout the day, you also want to be mindful of hydroplaning on water, especially when you've got a lot of snow melting quickly. You'll have certain sections of the road that will get covered in water. Back in 96, we had what we call Ice Storm 96 here in the Inland Northwest, primarily in the Spokane area, Spokane-Coeur d'Alene area. So what happened with that was a very unusual situation. It doesn't happen all the time, but it can. We had probably about 6 or 7 inches of snow, and then we had a heat flash, and it warmed up. The snow was melting and dripping, icicles were being formed, and it was going away. And then about 5 o'clock at night, all of a sudden we had a cold front come in. Sub-zero cold front with a little bit of wind came in suddenly. And everything froze like ice instantly. So all of the electrical lines, trees, everything all of a sudden had ice on them. They were frozen, which was not necessarily a problem. It was the wind that came with it. So when the wind came, then we had problems. All these hard frozen power lines and trees and everything were being blown around. They couldn't move, and stuff started coming down. And we lost power, and we lost a lot of trees. The trees took out power, and it was bad. All the way around, it was bad. So we are always prepared for electrical outing. When the electric goes out, you're in trouble. So the best way to make sure everything's going to be fine, number one, in the winter time, when there's snow on the ground, your number one priority, heat. You need a heat source that's not electric. You need a heat source. That's the most important thing in the wintertime. Second, you would think I'd say water. Well, yeah, water's important, but it's wintertime. There's water outside, all over the place, in storage. All you gotta do is scoop it up, heat it up, drink it. Well, probably filter it, but drink it. So water is not the most important, heat is. And you need an alternative heat source if you're gonna lose your electric. That's just all there is to it. That time of year, you lose it, let's do something about it. So heat is a big factor, and definitely something worth looking into in the wintertime. Food, yeah, you need food. Yeah, you need food. It's harder to find food in the wintertime, unless you have a vegetable garden with a lot of root vegetables that you can go digging for. Food's kind of important. But you need a heat source in order to either dehydrate or to rehydrate it or to cook it or what have you. So definitely still need heat. So there you go. Those are my little tips and tricks for the winter time. I hope some of this or any of this was helpful. It just kind of came to me this morning. I was cleaning off the car and thinking, you know what I haven't done? I haven't talked about winter. So winter is something that I've decided, well, I want to talk about winter. So, all right, well, I've made it here to the place of business. Y'all have yourselves a fantastic rest of your day. And, well, I'll see y'all real soon. Hopefully, I will be able to give you a video of the garden and what it's doing right now. So, till then, bye for now.